Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Spark of Genius Flesh and Blood production, episode 2 of the Spark to Your Genius. I'm pretty sure that's what we named it, the Spark to Your
Yes,
Genius.
that is correct.
Okay, cool. This one will definitely be on Spotify. My name is Eric, and I'm joined by Rob, my co-creator, co-commentator, co-caster, co-compatriot. Almost got it down to memory now.
Yeah.
Look at us go. And this one's a bit of a special episode here, as you can see on my left, on my right. Oh, right on the camera, left in real life.
Our right.
You'll be seeing in most of our new gameplay videos, and for a couple players, you see this beautiful Spark of Genius mat that we just got printed a very small batch for. You're going to be seeing that a lot more. We're going to be using it mainly for giveaways, but as we're going to be saying on other videos, if you are interested in purchasing a mat, it would be helpful for us to know how much interest there is, and then if there is enough interest, we could definitely make more if we need to. But for now, I think we're almost half either sold or given away via friends of the channel, people that really help out the growth of the channel. But
just to say thank you for people who've been on the channel, who've been on
if you do
episodes.
Yeah, who've definitely been on the episodes helping us create content. But if you do like the mat, let us know. With that, if you like our content in general, feel free to leave a comment, like and subscribe for notifications, all the great stuff. I know all our viewers are going to do it anyways because they're all amazing. And we're going to do a bit of a roundup. We're going to talk about Skirmish, Krakow, the calling in Krakow. We're going to talk about it didn't happen yet. We're going to talk about our thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Some predictions. Then we're going to go into a little bit of BNR errata or a lack thereof, maybe, but a bit of a discussion on what we think about effects on the meta and stuff like that, and go from there really. So I think probably starting off here, we'll talk a little bit about our skirmish experience. So maybe Rob, you did one skirmish. So
yes,
maybe
so there were
talk
two
a little bit about that one.
in my area, and one further off, like an hour and a half away in Montreal, which I didn't attend. But I attended one of the local ones here. I went kind of more casually, as I usually do for Blitz events. I didn't really look into trying too hard to top 8. I did go with KO, as everyone probably knows, it is not a consistent hero, but it's the one that I enjoy playing the most, and the one that I really enjoyed playing at that skirmish. I ended up placing, so there were, I believe, 14 to 16 players. It was close. There were 4 rounds, and I went 2-2. I got 9th place, just low enough to miss out on the hero.
Damn.
It was because I lost round 1, and that's what really bubbled me down from top 8.
Yeah,
I had the stats to be in the top 8. It's just I got bubbled down, so unfortunate. Yeah. But I can talk about my matchups. The first one, or I guess the heroes I played into were Ira, into Kano, into Ira, into Viserai. So those are the 4 heroes: 2 Iras, 1 Kano, and a Viserai. There were, at the event, I believe, 2 Kasais, and there were also 2 Oldhams, and they all kind of made top 8. So I'm noticing that I believe the conversion rate for Kasais and Oldham has been just kind of 100% top 8 from that one event, I should say. It's not like a lot of data, but that's just for my own anecdotal little evidence there.
Consistent results, essentially.
They are consistent, exactly. Of the... I mean, I guess the first Ira I played against, I just luck-sacked like crazy. I got a 12 damage CNC when they just had like a handful of flip flags.
You did a barrel roll in their face.
Oh yeah, the person that I beat told me that he's never lost to a KO in his life. So I was like,
"There's a first time for everything."
No, we're good. We're good friends. I didn't get anything bad by that.
Who ended up taking down the event? What hero ended up winning the event?
And Oldham won the event. One of the
Fair
2
enough.
that I believe I think it was Oldham Kasai finals. I kind of forget, but Kasai was up there with the Oldhams. And Oldham did end up taking it. And I can see why. After we played a few games, I was like, if I had made it to top 8, I would have just died. But it doesn't.
Well, you could roll. Yeah, if you roll well, you definitely have more of a shot. But that's definitely something I've been seeing more of also.
Yeah.
So,
that was
your skirmish.
Kind of my experience. Yeah, how about you?
Yeah. So we're recording on Sunday. So I did 2 skirmishes, one last weekend, one this weekend yesterday. The first skirmish I went into at Stronghold was I think it was a 4-rounder. I think it was 16 people. So it was also a 4-rounder. I took Viserai. I wasn't planning on taking Viserai, but I ended up taking Viserai. I put in the wrong deck boxes in my main compartment, like the one I use in the back here. If you
That kind of
can see what I'm
deck
pointing into.
loader,
Yeah,
like
yeah. So because we've been making
giant
so
thing.
many blitz decks and recording lately, I keep switching them in and out. And so the
Did you bring
problem
the wrong
is
deck? Did
I
you
brought
just
the
bring
wrong
the
deck.
wrong deck? Oh my
I
goodness.
brought Viscerai and Kano when I was supposed to bring a Prism Dash, but I just forgot to swap them back when
Oh,
we
okay,
recorded the
okay.
video. So I wanted to actually play Prism, the Prism list that the Herald Beatdown
The we
list
had
that
tried the one
we
into Dash, that one? Yeah, okay.
yeah, I wanted to play Prism or I wasn't sure which one I wanted to play, Prism or Dash. I was leaning towards Prism, and I had neither. So I was forced to play either Kano or Viscerai.
I mean,
I ended
both
up playing
solid
Viscerai.
heroes, I should add. They're not
I
bad.
didn't. Yeah, they're definitely both good heroes. I think Kano. I'm comfortable on Kano, but I'm not as well practiced. I really do need to. You do really do need to put at least 10, 15, 20 reps if you haven't played Kano in a
Yes.
little while and you haven't been consistently playing Kano. I do recommend to definitely play a fair amount to get comfortable in your matchups beforehand. Otherwise, you might go to time. Like there is situations where you just you either win or you just go to time and lose. Like that is possible, especially with some of the old him builds out there.
Right.
To be able
Specifically
to
into
find the right
Oldhim.
lines. Yeah, you don't want to start
Yeah.
tanking for random turns to do ending up that sucks. Let's just Voltic pull. You don't really want to be doing that at an event, even a casual not like skirmish. So I didn't feel like I was comfortable enough to be able to process my turns quickly enough to be in time for all my matches because I knew there was going to
Yeah.
be a fair amount of old him at the event, which there was a fair amount of old him. So I ended up taking Viscerai. I believe I went 3-1, something along those lines. I ended up I went 2-2, but I went 2-0, and then I drew my second two games.
Okay.
So I ended up
went to time
going
in the
into
last two games.
I went to time. One of them was against Yuki on Oldhim. We were 1-1, and I had the momentum, but I couldn't close it out. Like she was blocking well, so I couldn't push that extra one damage. I was looking for a vexing when she had no arsenal, so I can poke through one arcane or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But my Sonata that game was very, very bad. I think I got a 2-5. I rolled an amount and got definitely well below the even split, and the attacks I got were bad. I didn't have go again. I got
two
Spellblade
blue
Assault and something.
Yeah, two blues.
Yeah,
maybe.
like a Dread Triptych and a Spellblade Assault or something random like that. So my Sonata was not nearly good enough to close out the game. I thought that matchup's definitely a 50-50 matchup, so I wasn't really super surprised. My second draw was against Icelander, I think.
Okay.
Who also top aided because I think he was already 2-1 also.
Yeah.
But the Icelander deck was I had a little bit of experience playing into it because I was kind of looking at different decks I wanted to play, and so I was up to date with one of the newer Icelander builds, but I wasn't really sure how attack heavy and how spell heavy it was. So I ended up I didn't run a full suite of Null Rune as many people would into a wizard they've never seen before. So I ended up only running a Null Rune 2. And I think that really did help me from not straight up not losing. It did go to time because again, it was a situation where they were slowing me down a lot with Winter's Grasp, a lot of ice cards from the arsenal.
Yeah.
So they were able to my turns were so tuned that they really kind of forced me to play around it. And again, my Sonatas were just bricking all day. It seems to be the point of the day.
Trend. Yeah.
So I ended
just
up
gotta
drawing
stop
that because I
playing
couldn't
heroes
push.
that have some dependency on luck.
It was the same thing. I had the tempo, I had the advantage, but I just couldn't push it through. And he was using all his cards to react essentially, so he couldn't really do as much going through. It wasn't 1-1, but it was definitely I think he was on the back foot, and I had 5 or 6 health or something. Nothing crazy, but so I went 2-2. I came in bottom of the pod for top 8, probably 7th, 6th or 7th or something like that.
Winning the first 2 games really helped you bubble.
It's important.
In. Yeah,
it's definitely important.
Yeah, for those who don't know, the
yeah.
system really does favor people who have won their initial games. If the earlier you win, the higher chance you have of getting into top 8 or whatever bracket you're trying to get into. So unfortunately I lost my first game, which really hurt me, but Eric did win the first 2, so nice.
Ended up winning against I don't remember, a something and a something. It wasn't one of the more quote unquote popular decks. It was definitely more of the
more of those
one-ofs
that maybe a Reinar or something.
I think there was one Reinar I think that I played into in Swiss, but I don't remember the other hero. But that was essentially Swiss top 8. I versed a Reinar in top 8, which was one of our locals, Derek, who's a super nice guy, super good Reinar player, even though he probably doesn't think so, but everyone learns. Played him. I think that is a bit of a slaughter. Like Viscera just absolutely destroys Reinar. I really don't see how you win that matchup as Reinar unless you get ungodly lucky. Go first, get ungodly bellows, and just like. But even then, like Viscera comes in with the semi tank.
You rarely even block. I feel right as Viscera.
You don't. You just use so much tempo. Like you just so much tempo.
You just don't care about the intimidates at all, right?
No,
so just Reinar's whole gimmick is just undermined by Viscera just not even like wanting to block anyway, unless you want to get around like a bunch of barragings. I don't know, but if you're getting barraging, you can't block anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like letting Viscera keep hands is fine. Like Viscera's 5-card hands are nuts, right? So it's just a matter of I played my deck was skewed a bit more towards tempo. I wasn't super OTK to begin with. Like I wasn't really playing into a lot of Oldhams.
Right.
I only had like the 3 red reach runes. I didn't have incantations or anything like that. So the deck was more built towards tempo. So I was able to do that. And win the top 8 game. Top 4 was against Oliver on a Oldham who was a very control based Oldham.
Okay.
Ran double steadfast, 1 or 2 steadfast. I don't remember.
The OG build, as they say.
The build. That game. Yeah. That game. My Sonatas were just I had him on the ropes kind of thing.
You just needed to pull something
went
from
a bit even. Yeah, and essentially I did misplay once or twice. It was getting a little bit cumbersome. Like it was a little bit later in the day. I did misplay once or twice, but
6, I believe, for you. So 6 rounds in a row, that can be tiring for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. I think definitely. I don't think that misplay would have won me the game, but I might have missed 1 damage. I think he ended up having. I think he ran sigils. I want to say.
Okay.
Maybe he didn't run sigils, but
attack into Kano maybe. But
it was just it was definitely more of a control to build, like 100% control. Not 100%, but it was more hedged towards control. So I ended up eventually losing that game. I just ran out of cards. Like I just fatigued out, so I conceded.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then that finals was actually Yuki Oliver in the Oldham Mirror, but that's neither here nor there. Yuki ended up winning that one, but that was that one. So that was top 4.
Yeah. So from our kind of combined, I mean. You're going to add 1 more skirmish to this, but from our combined finals, we've got 3 Oldhams already.
3 Oldhams already, and I'm about to add another one here because I played Oldham yesterday.
Let's go.
Most of the reason that I played Oldham was actually to practice for the most of the reason was just to practice for our gameplay matchup make sure I wasn't like screwing with it because we recorded the gameplay a day after the skirmish, so I wanted to make sure I was comfortable with the new Oldham build.
Yes,
because it was a different build than I was playing the first time around when we were practicing.
Yeah,
so I wanted to make sure I understood all the lines and like the more nuances, because it's playing Oldham when you've never played Oldham before is not an easy feat.
You've got so many options available to you when you're playing. It's a bit overwhelming because you've got your crown, of course, which you can use whenever you want, essentially as an instant, and then you also have your hero ability, which there's 2 of them. You probably don't run many Earth, or I guess you have maybe the.
I run a fair amount of Earth.
Okay,
I run a fair amount
there
of
were
Earth.
quite a few. Okay, so you have both of abilities available to you, and then of course like when to Winter's Wail, when to go with an attack action card. When to do block. So there's a lot of considerations for Oldham specifically.
Yeah, I definitely think there's a big difference with how many reps you put in it. So I brought in Oldham. That event was 5 rounds, so it was a bigger skirmish. So it was a 5-round skirmish. Ended up going 3-2. I lost my game 2 and my game 4, I want to say.
Okay.
Game 2, game 4, it might have been game 2, game 5.
Round
2 for sure. Yeah, round 2 was into Yuki. I don't remember what round 1. I think round 1 was into an Ira, who actually made it quite close because Ira actually was a little bit more of a control build, which I wasn't expecting. And so just swinging your Kodachis, it was closer than I thought it would be compared to like an aggro Ira. So I took that one, and then game 2 was into Yuki on Viscera this time. Yuki's Viscera list was more. I see her like multiple times most events, and then she has a more. It's slightly more skewed to OTK because it has. She was running incantations as well as the returns and such, so
you just
she definitely had a better
into the skeleton. Yeah. Okay.
And she ended up with some like crazy like turn. I think she got her read runes turn 1, turn 2 because she has become Dark Knight turn 2. So she started off the game with like 8 rune chance, and then I came out with like some nice pressure on like spinals, endlesses, fusing winters. But her hands were bad anyways, so I couldn't catch her on like one of the hands with like Sonata and that kind of thing.
She's just fine taking the damage and discarding.
She just blocks with her whole hand and passes. So I think the timing just didn't work out for me, and she Ended up with revealing 8 cards, perfect 4/4 split because
Nice.
she's Yuki. She's the champ, and that's what champs do. Unlike me on Viscera,
They just get lucky.
she ended up with a perfect split. Well, she played well. It's not that like
Oh
luck
yeah,
has
yeah.
some
I'm not
factor, but she
saying yeah,
played it.
yeah,
She
yeah.
played it well. But then came on for like a bajillion damage, so I lost that one. Nothing really I could have done.
Mm-hmm.
Then I ended up losing to Jay. So I lost to Jay in the mirror, in the Oldham mirror, and that was
Were you both on the
that.
aggro style build?
Yeah, we're both in the style aggro. I decided to use Sledge actually in the mirror,
Oh, okay.
and the reason is because I thought it would be easier to navigate with Sledge just auto coming in for 6. I wouldn't have to like worry about like
An ice.
an ice for on his because I really didn't know what style of ultimate he was on and how much I would have to be blocking.
Mm.
Um, so I went with the Sledge. It was a fairly close game. I think it came down to like 1 or 2 key turns, and that's kind of about it. There's not really much to say about the mirror.
Okay. Yeah.
And then kind of, I think I saw another Kasai, and I saw, which was the plan was just to essentially fatigue them out. I think it was against Clint, another one of our locals, who
Okay.
played it well. I think he just had super bad luck. I think he drew into like really bad hands
So just block
without
as
a lot of
many of the
pressure.
sabers as
So
possible.
I just ended up preventing the copper generation early, like
Yeah.
really blocking out the copper as the focus because I've seen this matchup quite a bit, so I kind of know how Kasai can win.
Yeah.
So he ended up having to block with one of his blood on her hands and use the other one like inefficiently. So
Okay.
he had it with 3. I blocked with stalagmite, so he was
Mm.
able to swing the second saber twice
Yeah.
because he had the stalagmite in the last
And
one. He didn't have pitch
I'll
floating.
add into that the stalagmite's also another thing they have to kind of practice to know when to use. It's kind of
You
easy
really,
just to
yeah,
block whenever for 2, but they have to remember the frostbite gets generated automatically.
yep,
So stopping a big turn
yep.
halfway can have a lot of merit.
I definitely echo that statement. Using stalagmite takes a lot of skill, but can do a lot. Like Rampart is the easier thing to use,
Yes.
right? But stalagmite can do more damage in the long run for like big turns. So that was Swiss going into top 8. I saw Jay again, so I got the
Nice.
Oldemir. I was C5, he was C4, so he ended up going first.
Mm-hmm.
He 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 towering Titan blued me going
It's
first.
turn
Didn't
1.
know any of the old turn 1. He goes first, pitch 9, towering Titan. I'm like,
Perfect.
okay, I've never ever no,
That's the dream.
that's
That's the
horrible.
dream
Yeah,
turn
that's
1
for
hand.
him. For
Yeah,
him,
yeah, yeah.
I didn't even know he was running towering Titan. I'm like, oh my
I
good
didn't think
god.
it was part
Okay,
of the
so
list. I mean, you didn't run it, as far as I know.
nope. It's
Um,
a very very like
it's
in
a
Blitz.
niche
It's
card to
like
write, and
you
yeah, and
get
Blitz especially. Yeah.
you get your 3 blues and towering, you play it, but every other turn it just sucks. So, but he got it
Yes.
off turn 1. I came in. I had a pretty weak hand. I was only able to swing the Winter's Whale. He took the 4 and then
Mm.
pitched 3 for Awakening Fuse to get 8. I think he fused the Awakening to get the Seismics. I don't know. Yeah, I think he fused it to get the Seismics.
Mm-hmm.
Found the Okanold. Fused the Oak on his turn. Fused the Okanold with a Pulse from hand, coming in for 17 Dominate. So 9 and 7.
Nine
7 from the
plus 7 from
7
the.
from Towering,
Okay.
9
Yeah.
from Oaken. Came in for 17 Dominate turn 2. Uh, Suffice it to say, it was getting real rough. So essentially, I blocked out with my full suite of armor,
Okay. Yeah.
and crowned and blocked with a card and put 2 to the bottom. And I was definitely on the back foot. I think it was 5 to like 16, or so, like he was still at 16. I was at like 5. Because obviously I'm taking a lot, and he
Yeah.
he was coming in with a lot of strong hands, aggressive hands. I was able to slowly claw my way back via Awakening. So I used my own
Yes.
Awakening. I pitched. I took another hit. I was probably at like 11. I took another hit to go down to the 5,
Yeah, because
and
you
I
fully
Awakeninged.
blocked the first Oaken, right? So you had a
No,
bit
no,
more
I
health.
can't. You can't.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you
I'm sorry.
can't block the 17.
You used your full armor suite. I'm
Armor.
sorry.
Yeah, I
But by
used the
full, I
armor
meant you
suite
did
and a
everything
card.
you could to possibly block as much damage as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and then one card from
And
hand. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and definitely like key uses of staunch response were like super super important. So I was able to
Mm.
like navigate around my staunches quite
Yeah.
well to block his most aggressive turns.
Right.
Because he was coming in pretty hot and heavy there, and I awakening my own. I fused the Awakening for 22 seismics. Just
If
for
only
shits and
something
giggles.
costed 22 in the game.
It's true.
Yeah,
Grabbed myself Pulverize.
of course.
I ended up pulverizing for 14. I actually had He luckily he blocked for him. He blocked with the stalagmite, and I only had a yellow in hand because I had the pummel, but I had a yellow, and so because he
Okay.
stalagmited,
He,
I gained the frostbite, and I wasn't able to pummel.
yeah.
And so it was a good turn, but I took his armor. I took a lot of his health. He decided to keep his cards, so just block with armor and try to swing tempo. But unfortunately for him, I drew into a staunch with blues, so
Nice.
I was able to stem his turn, and we eventually locked. It was like 4-4 at some point. I don't know how. I wasn't even looking at the life really,
Yeah.
and I eventually just was able to navigate around his stack, figuring out where his staunch was,
Mm,
and come in with like he probably has staunch. Let's come in with CNC, so
yeah.
he doesn't have as much to block. So there's a lot of like card counting, a lot of pitch stacking, a lot of like very careful play.
Nice.
Very 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 tough matchup. And that was my top eight.
That's great.
Top four was against the same Rhinar player as before, Derek. So he managed to claw his way into semis here. That
How was it?
was
So you played Viscera initially, then now into Oldhim. Which one did you prefer into Reiner? Out of curiosity.
Viscerai.
Viscera, 100%. Yeah.
Whoa, Viscerai,
Yeah.
100%.
I had a
Viscerai,
feeling, but just wanted to
way better
see.
into Reiner. Yeah.
Hmm.
Derek had some really unfortunate early turns, but he ended up blood rushing and then raw drawing double alpha. So he had like
Oh
alpha
yeah.
and then
Oh.
exactly what he needed to play it, alpha and exactly what he needed to play it with the massacre. So he had like
Mm,
alpha rampage, and the second one his discard was massacre.
yeah.
Suffice it to say, I was at five. I was at
You just
three. I was at three.
your early
And
game is always so painful.
Yeah, and I knew he had double reckless. I think he definitely ended up misplaying and cost him the game, but I think it was his game to win actually. But
Hmm.
now he knows how probably the better way to do it. But I was definitely on the ropes like that
Yeah.
alpha, like the raw just like alpha with the massacres is brutal because you intimidate three, so you really can't really be blocking.
Yeah. Throw in a
Um,
barraging in there, and it's like guaranteed damage almost.
Yep. The finals was against Yuki again, with the Viserai. That's pretty. I've explained this matchup a lot. Same kind of idea. I mean, we ended up splitting it anyways, but
Yeah.
the key to that matchup is depending on whether they're like if you're Viserai, you probably want slightly more OTK hedge and just try to go really wide because if you try
Right.
to go tempo, then Oldhim will just if they're control enough, will just slow
Yeah.
you down. So that was the skirmish. So took down
Yeah.
a nice spring tidings mat. I got the cold full prism.
Very nice.
Um,
Oh, was it
and
Prism or was
that
it?
was that. I
Oh,
ended up getting
sorry, it
Prism,
was
the young,
Prism.
young
That's
Prism.
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Best cold foil.
so that was so based on those, I think my analysis would be
Yeah. So how does it compare
I
to like
think
our initial, tier list type
Oldhim,
of,
yeah, Oldhim
picks
and
for this
Viserai
season?
are still the goat. Like Oldhim and Viserai are still what I'm going to be expecting. Probably half of any top eights to be.
Yeah.
Kasai, we were a bit higher on Kasai than
Right.
probably we initially should have been. I think the issue with Kasai, the burstiness takes a lot of setup, whereas Viserai can come out of the gate much faster. And versus
Yes.
Oldhim, Frostbites are so good, and the more aggressive Oldhim hits really hard that
Yep.
even with all the armor from Kasai, one bad hand loses you the game. And
Yeah.
I don't think Kasai is able to come back easily from that.
So
She
unfortunately,
just
it's not
doesn't.
really a triangle at the top there. Kasai is kind of the weaker of the three if they're playing against each other.
Yep.
Each of the others have a good matchup into Kasai, and Kasai can't really
But
claw
yeah,
her way up there.
Kasai can win. I think if we were to redo the ratings, probably putting Kasai on A and probably putting Oldhim and Viserai on S is
Yes.
probably where I would be.
Mhm.
Just because of the flexibility and the ability for the hero to go two strategies very, very well. Both of them can do two strategies very, very well.
Yeah.
So I would probably put them on like the highlights for like going into your last skirmish if you're looking for like the auto top eight if you know what you're doing.
Hmm.
Ultimate Viserai are your best bets. That being said, heroes like Briar, Kano, Dash, those kinds of A tier heroes can still win an event and
Yeah.
still top eight.
And it's
But I feel
interesting
like
because
all of those,
Reiner kind of fits the triangle a little bit too, right? Good against Oldhim,
mhm,
I would say maybe a bit favored, 55-60
mhm,
maybe, like on the Reiner side, and then really
I'd
bad
say
into
that.
Viserai though. So he's kind of
Yeah.
like in that
So
triangle of rock, paper, scissors.
if you have a lot of Rune Blades in your meta, don't run Rhinar. Rhinar does not do well against
Yeah.
aggro decks. It's
The thing
just
is,
how
Reiner
it
does
is.
do poorly against most decks, I would say. Into Kasai, he's not that great.
Yeah,
Into
because
yeah, into
Kasai has the
Dash,
fridge.
probably not. Yeah, exactly. The
Yeah,
armor does help with time.
dash is too fast.
Yeah.
Like dash aggro is too hot and heavy.
Yeah.
Not enough armor on Reinhardt's side. So Reinhardt is more of a hedge against a whole bunch of old hymns. That being
Yeah.
said, I think that's like Icelander. Honestly, Chris, one of our local players, piloted Icelander top 8 twice.
Yeah,
On
surprising. I
Icelander.
have not seen a good Icelander build in a while. I mean, I think ever. Played
Mm.
against her a couple of
His
times, but didn't really wow me that
Yeah,
much.
no, his deck is definitely more of a hybrid attack action spells deck.
I've heard that was the way to
Spells,
go. Non-attack action,
arcane.
arcane. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely a GTL, but like not Kano.
Hmm.
Didn't see one Kano in any of the skirmishes. I think he's just
Mine only had one. It was the one Kano.
even for unless you were a Kano main, picking up Kano for the skirmish season didn't make as much sense because you had auto counters that were popular.
Yes.
Dash was a thing. Oldhim was a thing,
Yep.
like a big thing. Even Viscerai could beat Kano, like not that like if it's a more tempo based Viscerai deck, like Viscerai could still pretty easily beat Kano. So Kano could beat everyone easily if they draw well, if they sack well. But
yeah, and Reiner has a good position as well, maybe 50-50 because intimidates do hurt Kano a lot, as we kind of talked about earlier. Just being able to intimidate once with the barraging, and then forcing them to make the choice to react or not. Well, you still have 3 cards in hand, so it might not even favor them to go all in. Kano typically wants to go in when the opponent doesn't have much in hand, right, to guarantee a lot of damage to then blazing for game. So Reiner might have a position into Kano. So yeah, Kano's not in a very good spot.
I definitely agree. This is not meant to like rehash our whole ratings thing,
right,
but I think as far as rolling into Krakow. So this is kind of on the eve of Krakow, right? So when this video is released, the call in Krakow should have either started or about to start.
Scheduled for the 15th, I believe, of April. So the weekend after this one.
Yeah. Friday long weekend there. So that is the Bliss calling. And so a couple of predictions just based on what we've seen. I think like this is the first calling in Europe. This is the very first like international. I mean, I know that, well, not international because New Zealand has like not international as far as North America, but like for Europe, it's the first European international event, I think. Because Battlehard in UK was kind of secluded a little bit more to the UK. I don't know if many people would fly over there for a Battlehard. But the calling in Krakow, people are definitely coming around from like France, Germany, some of the good players around there. Netherlands, Belgium, all those kind of countries, and the UK, of course.
Yeah.
And I think the Polish, obviously. And so that's going to be very interesting to see them all kind of play each other because I don't think there have been very, very many situations where they've actually played each other as far as like international competition in Europe. So that'll be kind of interesting to see ahead of the Pro Tour in New Jersey where there are going to be European players there, right? And so as far as like local metagame, I have no idea what they've been playing over there. I think it's pretty much the same as the North American one.
Canadians that don't know too much about what the meta looks like, I guess, especially if you're looking at local armories where some kind of home brewing might be happening. Like I know my armories have had like really weird builds, so hard to say what the metas are going to look like.
Yeah, and I think like conversion wise, as far as being the calling, there's a lot on the line, and because there's so much on the line, and there usually isn't for blitz events, I'm willing to bet we're going to see Oldhim,
More
Rune
of the
Blades,
stuff we've seen
and then
be very good at other locals,
I think it's going to be like probably a third of the field at least is going to be like Rune Blades of some kind of flavor and Oldhim. I would hazard to say probably as far as top 8, like top 16 maybe, probably 40%, maybe 50% would be like the Guardian. Probably I'll say Guardian split because there could be a couple like fringe Bravos. A couple of Bravos, because Bravo can take it down with the right builds, the right play. So I think that will kind of fit in a lot of the top cut essentially is what I'm trying to say here. That being said, I think Kano is still very strong. There are some good European Kano players I've seen in the past in different metas. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of Kano in there, a little bit of Icelander in there. I think Icelander is one of those dark horses with Reinar, as you kind of mentioned.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much KO, but Reinar with a little bit more consistency, right?
There's one thing I know: there won't be many KOs making it to top 8 or top 16.
Even though in Battlehard in UK, a KO made it real far when I was watching. It was like 5-0, 6-0 at some point. So
my hero.
I think it's definitely an interesting build. I think there's like high rollers or something. I wasn't really sure. I would say like the French dark horse picks are probably. I hate saying Kano's a dark horse pick. It feels so bad, but I think he is.
We're not
at the
used
moment.
to saying that. Yeah, he's
I'm not
always
used to saying
been
that.
the predator of blitz. Him
Yeah,
and Ira.
I
I
would
mean, we haven't talked
say
much about Ira too, but she might be in there as
I,
well.
I would. Yeah, maybe I would hazard to put Icelander a little bit above Ira as far
Above,
as
yeah.
like potential for Dark Lord. Yeah, I think Icelander is just a lot more flexible,
Hmm.
and the new neoprene smell, like that fresh Everfest smell.
Yeah,
As far as people, I don't think people will really be practicing a lot against her. I think they'll be practicing against Oldhim Viscerai,
yeah,
maybe Kasai. I think Kasai will be in there. There might be a couple Dory players in there. I think Dory's still strong in Blitz, especially feeding on like players who haven't really tested a lot against her. And in this
yeah.
case, I don't think a lot of players are testing against Dorinthia. I know I'm not.
Nope,
So depending
definitely
on what they're
not.
trying to do,
And also,
Dorinthia does seem.
oh yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna mention just about Icelander that if Kano is kind of dropping off the radar a little bit because of a few bad matchups, Arcane Barrier won't be as much of a thing at the forefront of people's minds, and so
Hmm.
Icelander, who might have more favorable matchups into the top echelon of the Blitz heroes, actually might come up more and catch people off guard who aren't running as much Null Rune as they should. In your case, you
Hmm.
ran Null Rune 2, as you mentioned, which
Yep.
I believe, did you lose against that Icelander? I forget.
I ended up drawing, but
It was a
I don't. I
draw.
think I had enough null rune. Like I had enough. Like as far as it goes, I had
Hmm.
enough null rune for the matchup. I think.
Yeah, okay. So anyway, just the point being that if Null Rune kind of drops off a little bit because of Kano's lack of popularity, then Icelander might have a place in the meta as well.
Hmm. I think other heroes that can like do well, but I don't necessarily see them top eighting unless the gem gods are with them.
Yeah.
Heroes like Prism, Dash,
Hmm.
the ones where there are very like stark matchups. Like Dash has a very hard time beating Oldhim, a very
Yeah.
hard time.
One of the worst
Prism, yeah,
kind of
Prism also has a
matchups.
hard
Yeah.
time into Oldhim, but like those decks can beat other decks that like tempo wise, those are like some of the two best tempo decks. Like Dash
Yeah.
can destroy Viscerai, game like absolutely destroy him.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's a matter of do you see those matchups more, or are you going to see a lot more of the Guardian matchup or the Ice matchups more? Right. I think Lexi is. I think Ranger in general is just not as played in Blitz. Maybe question mark. I haven't
I
seen a
haven't
Ranger deck
seen
in Blitz
one.
for a while.
No, there are a few like die-hard Azalea fans in my locals that play,
Hmm.
but it's not really out of thinking they're the best in class to do
Yeah,
well. It's just it's kind
we're
of like I
talking
play
about the calling
KO
here. Yeah.
exactly. So Azalea, Lexi, I don't think we're gonna see many of them. Just from
Hmm.
anecdotal, kind of what I've seen, it seems like it's not that good of a pick.
My any predictions for your top eight? Give me your top eight predictions right now. Give me your top seven and give me a dark horse like we did last time.
Yeah, I mean, if you consider Reinhardt a dark horse, I would pick him as my dark
I
horse.
do.
So
Okay.
I would include him. I know I mentioned him last time for
Makes
CC,
sense.
but I think in
Yeah.
Blitz, because the variance is so much higher, you have a
You're you're,
higher
you're serious this
potential.
time.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a higher chance to see a really random hero up in there because Blitz has so much more variance, right, than CC. So the other heroes that I would pick, I'm willing to say I think one Kasai. I don't want to go as far as say two. I think one has the potential to leak through.
Okay,
If they get a
I can
little
see
luck
that.
here in the gem system and get the right matchups, I think that Viscerai.
Hmm.
So I'm missing six. I would be willing to go two Viscerai, two Oldhim. I think they have a very good even split.
Okay.
I don't think I'd give more preference of one to one or the other. I think they're both very good. Both can be explosive. Now with Oldhim being more of an aggro type of build, so I'll put two for each of those. Now I'm missing two. Um,
Hmm.
let's see. I'm thinking either one Kano or one Ira. Um,
Oh, throw an Ira in there. I like it.
I'm gonna go more towards the Kano. I do think that one Kano, as Kano just can be that explosive hero and
Kano can blaze on.
piloted
Can blaze
well,
on.
I would say has
Yep.
a very good chance into like a lot of different heroes because it just takes one off turn really for Kano to go in and get some really crazy damage in. So I'm willing to give him a chance. I think Kano has a chance.
Well,
And
such a nice guy.
last one, I don't think Dash has a chance. I'm not gonna give Dash a chance. Just with the old
No.
hymns, I feel it's way too hard. I know.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Dash. She's my
that's fine.
favorite hero. Just putting that out there. And one more, eh? Man.
Put an Icelander in there. Why not?
Yeah, you want me to put an
You never
Icelander?
know. Put an Icelander in there. Just be edgy.
That's extra spicy. I was already spicy
put
on
a
Reiner. I don't know if I'm
put
gonna be
a
that
put a Briar.
spicy.
I think
I was
Briar is
thinking
still
about
very
Briar. I
good.
just haven't seen her
I think
that
Briar is
often.
still good.
I play her in Blitz too, and I find she's fantastic with the plunder runs.
I think it's just like all the Runeblade players are like, oh, just play Viscera instead. I think that doesn't mean Briar can't make it.
Yeah, I think Briar was probably my top choice there. I'll go with Briar. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm thinking 3 Oldhams.
Okay.
I don't know if they're all going to be the aggro build. There might be a
Right.
control build in there. So 3 Oldhams. I'm going to say 2 Viscerais also.
Okay.
3 Oldhams, 2 Viscerais. My dark horse is going to be Kano.
Okay.
Kind of for the same reasons you said.
Yeah.
But that's my dark horse pick instead. I don't think there's going to be a Brute in top 8. I apologize. From what I've seen out of Brute,
you've seen it in your locals.
I've seen it, but this is the calling. We're talking about people that are just like, they know their shit, and maybe Reinar knows their shit, but Reinar needs to roll amazingly also to be able to.
He does rely a bit on the scab skins. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Also, you need to get the blood rushes, and you need to get them when you need to get them.
Yes.
You need to get them with barragings. Like there's still enough that needs to go right. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying that he might just bubble out at 9th. Like I think there'll be one in top 16. I don't think there'll be the one in top 8.
Okay.
And so that's my dark horse. I think there'll be a Briar in there.
2 heroes now. Okay, or 2
I'm gonna add a Briar, and I'm gonna add an Icelander, and I'm gonna add an Icelander because I think the Europeans actually like Icelander, and I don't blame them. And because of that, I'm gonna say there's gonna be an Icelander player out there who's just gonna feast on the testing that nobody knows how to play against Icelander. And I think that's very, very strong that people forget about in Blitz, that because games are so short, they're best of ones. All you need is the element of surprise.
Yeah, exactly.
So surprise.
Yeah, and I think like the element of surprise also could favor Kano pretty well because of the new Aether Wildfire. I love that card. I think that it has a good chance of catching people off guard for like tons of damage. So that's why I gave Kano a shot. I totally agree.
Oh, I did too. Definitely my dark horse. So those are kind of what we think. Comment down below if you agree. Maybe we're missing some kind of hero, and you're like, oh, something did well in your skirmish, your armory.
But yeah.
Let us know. Maybe shoot us a link or something. Maybe we can check it out. I'll be interested to see it. And with that, we're going to kind of move on to our last topic here, which is the BNR ban. I think ban and restricted. I think that's actually what the BNR stands for.
Yeah, I believe
ban and restricted. I mean, essentially nothing. But like their reasoning was interesting. So initially, I love all the tweets and the memes and like every like Facebook Discord blowing up.
Yeah.
After they announced that there's gonna be no changes, it was amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think all the meme, like all of them came out because they essentially said they're not gonna touch Bravo, star of the show, which has been a very big issue just because of he's just unfair. I don't fault LSS for the design. I don't fault like this Everfest as a set in general. I just think Starro single-handedly made about half of the heroes playable obsolete because you can't aggro into him because he has more on hits than you because his card pool is ridiculous. And I think this is the first hero who's had such a large card pool with so much disruption on a hero ability that isn't impossible to use.
No.
And I think the combination of all of these have and the flexibility of that card pool equals the list that Casino just rolled everybody early into the winner of the calling, Michael Hamilton, ending up going like the more control build and still able to like take down like Prism, which was the eminent Starville Crusher.
Yeah, the favored of the two for sure.
As Fano kind of took it pretty far, almost winning the whole event in the calling. But I think every top player I saw when I was, I think Tarek had a vlog, Tarek Patel, the US champ there, had a bit of a vlog. I like watching vlogs for some reason. So I was actually checking it out. And every time he was like interviewing and when he was answering kind of questions about the meta, everyone said the same thing, which is like, they don't really like the meta right now. Like they don't think it's in a great state. They don't enjoy playing in the meta.
I've definitely heard both sides of the argument. I know people who do enjoy it, but yeah.
It's true, but I feel like if you're going to the calling and most of your top players are saying that this unfair, I need to play Starvo to have a shot to top 8. I feel like something's got to give, right? As far as like the healthiness of the game, and the fact that Starvo just came out and he's at 814
Yeah,
living
that
legend
says
points.
something. I'll admit that definitely says something.
The data is there.
Yeah.
He's been crushing all kinds of events, winning the biggest events here. Wouldn't be surprised if he wins PT if he is not living legend by that status.
Yes.
Um, what was the funny part was they released the event schedule where he had a road to living legend by May 2nd, which is the next update.
Yeah.
And then they kind of backtracked, rolled it back to 3 events because those other battle hardened events were not CC
So what they
events because
didn't
most battle hardened
realize is
events are
that
blitz.
they assumed everything was CC up until that point. But
Mm-hmm.
like you just mentioned, 2 of them were blitz. Uh, so
Yep.
no chance for him to get points
Yeah.
there, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. I think he only had like they changed the article to 3 events and then realized that like that's just incorrect because he doesn't have a road to living legend status because the only calling because the blitz calling is Krakow,
Yeah.
the CC calling is Taiwan, but there were only 2 battle hardened events, which would be a total of 160 points even if he wins all of them, which
Mm-hmm.
means he would be still sitting at like
960
974.
or 970. Yeah.
974, which means he needs at least one more battle hardened, but there wasn't any scheduled. And then they released after the fact that they're adding battle hardened CC events
Right.
to the callings, both callings, I
Yes.
think. Krakow and Taiwan.
Taiwan
So he
as well.
does have a pathway to living legend status. He just needs to win 3 battle hardens
Mm-hmm.
and the calling in Taiwan.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think. What are your thoughts on kind of the fact that they didn't touch him now with the explanation that,
The
hey, if he
meta's
gets
healthy.
living legend status May 2nd, he will not be eligible for the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get living legend status, we do plan on changing up the meta. What that means, maybe they do have something in mind, like a stopgap, like
Yeah.
just in case to hit some heroes to change up the meta for Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Give everyone 2 weeks to free for all test and see who comes out on top. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, my understanding, and I guess kind of like reading between the lines of that article, was that they think that in the current environment of the meta, it's actually it's kind of fair, it's balanced, but their intention is
Yeah.
that once Pro Tour comes up, they want it to be shaken up a little bit. They want to see something different, and I think the stopgap, like you mentioned, makes a lot of sense. I think that they might not errata, but just kind of limit certain cards just to make it a little more fair, more balanced. Because
What do you
Starvo,
think? What do you think are their hits? What do you think are their hit targets? If you had to predict it, what do you think
well,
May 2nd? Assuming he's
yeah.
not living legend, what do you think May 2nd is going to say?
Oh man, that's such a tough question. All I
I
can
know.
think of are pretty much hits for Viscera because I know Viscera's got a lot of potential cards that could get changed or banned or
Mhm.
whatever. Maybe thinking about Skeletor or maybe the
Sonata.
Sonata. Yeah, I think that combo is really strong. So, but that's on the Viscera side. I don't think that he's. I mean, he's very strong, but he's not
Yeah.
most people's gripe with the meta. Starvo is.
He's also like Viscera is just so much harder. He's just a
Yeah.
harder deck to play compared. Like Starvo Starvo at a high level is difficult,
Yeah.
but Viscera is just hard in general.
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
So maybe thinking about the Starvo side, just one maybe you'll know what I'm about to say, but there's a card that you have complained a lot that is not a specialization.
Oaken fucking old. I'm telling you, like it has it's on a mat.
The
You
man's
can
on the
see
card.
very clearly on
Yeah.
the mat. He's on the card.
Yeah,
I don't.
I think that
He's
card.
on. He's on. To be fair, he's on Endless Winter also, and that one is
Yes.
a specialization.
Yes.
But
So just smack old him everywhere. I don't know. Anyway, I do think that making that an Oldhim specialization would help reduce Starvo's power level a lot. Because that card is one of his main threats in the deck. He does run Spinals and other big hits, but that's the one that if you get it, especially in addition with like a pulse to give it +4 or something. It's happened to me once in
oh,
my
someone pulsed and
Someone
then had
pulsed
the other
an
to
Oaken
double
Old
fuse. Oh
into
my
like
God.
15, I think 15 damage. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
15 dominate go again.
yeah, so that happened to me. So I'm very bitter about that. Anyway, Oaken Old, too powerful, I think. That's one card that might help reduce his power level. I don't know about you.
Yeah. So my prediction is that I honestly don't know if he's gonna get living legend status because he would have to
He
win
has to
Taiwan.
clean sweep everything.
Yeah, well, he has to. like if he doesn't win the calling in Taiwan, he doesn't matter if he wins every single battle hardened, he will not make Living Legend.
Right.
I don't think the meta there, as I see it, is more conducive to Starvo. I think in Taiwan there's a lot more prisms than there are in the rest of the world, and Kasus for that matter, for for unrelated purposes. But I think the calling Taiwan will be like the Asian meta over there. I would say like Hong Kong, Taiwan. A lot of rune blades, a lot of prisms. Some of the best prism and rune blades players I've seen. Honestly, have not seen a ton of Starvo come out of that region. From what I've seen, anyways. Yeah. I don't know if Starvo is a lock, like anywhere near it is for like NA and EU, because in top 8 there's so many of them that one of them is going to squeak by, right? But I'm honestly
just by sheer lack of them.
I'm going to say there's not as many of them. Yeah, I'm going to say there's not as many of them. Not as many of them are going to get through the prisms, and that he's not going to actually win. And based on that fact, I'm going to try to predict my May 2nd restrictions. Yeah. So bear with me here. I've got some thoughts.
Let's go. Let's hear them.
I'm going to start with Viscera, as you did. I want Skeletor to not hit cards with a cost X. So that could be you're not banning Sonata. You're not banning Skeletor. You just can't Skeletor your Sonata. That's it. Or any other X cost, which Sonata is the XX cost. Like the other XX cost I can think of is the Guardian card, Imposing Visage, I think. The one that gets an aura.
That's right, yeah. And Spark of Genius, of course.
And Spark. Of
course. How could you forget?
I can't. And so as far as Viscera, like I honestly think that's all you have to do, because I don't think this is inherently broken. I think that combo is broken.
Exactly. And even if you were to like use it for your 9th blade, for your blanking on the name, Rattlebones. Sorry, it's not even that. I mean, it's strong, but it's not broken in the sense that a Sonata can draw you 4 cards and ping your opponent for 4 for 0, right? That's, I think, what the main issue is, and I completely agree. I think if you nerf it in that way, it makes it really playable still, but it's not broken. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, because you can just Rattlebones your 9th blade with like 4 chance, right? Your Rattlebones is free, your 9th blade is almost free. You just have to pitch 1.
At that point,
Cost 1. Then maybe you like creepers with your floating, come with swarming from the Rattlebones, or so. You could do things like Rosetta. Like it's a strong.
It's still an interesting card. You can still do stuff. Yeah.
You could still come out with like 20 plus damage. You just can't come up with 40 damage out of the fucking sky.
Yes.
You just can't like Mordred Vexing Sonata for perfect split and just give the middle finger to your opponent, which is what it's doing right now. And it's just not fun, like playing it and playing against it. I hate both. I really do, honestly. So I really would hope that would be my hope. I think hitting Become the Arcanite is also another option they have. Okay. It's more of a Viscera specific hit because it's a Viscera specialization.
Yeah, exactly.
Hitting Become the Arcanite, like banning it or restricting it or some kind of thing, is good because Become the Arcanite is very good in the OTK strat, because a lot of times your turn might be Become the Arcanite, search, read the runes, create 4 chance, pass. And without having that tool to get Sonata on demand, without being able to read the runes, were like these key combo pieces that you need to go off. Maybe you search another Mordred and go ham.
It is
the dex consistency lowers.
Consistent. Yeah, it is a consistent search card, which there are none other in the game as far as I know. There is Sandsketch.
Well, there's Showtime.
Showtime too, that's true. Sandsketch is another one, but it's not consistent at all because you're discarding one of the cards that is in your hand after you've drawn it or picked it up. So, I think that it is one of the most consistent search cards in the game, and there aren't many of them, for sure. Any deck that has access to that has...
Tutors are good.
Tutors, there you go. Yeah, right? Tutoring, yep.
So those are my Viscera. I don't think there's any other hero other than Starvo I'm going to talk about. Prism, you can potentially hit here and there, but I think if you take out...
spot, in my opinion. I don't...
I think if you hit Starvo, Prism becomes less popular because aggro is good into Prism. You can switch the Prism deck to be better into aggro. Like you can remove the unmovables. You can unmove the unmovables.
you can movable.
No, you can move the unmovables. You can movable, exactly.
You can movable. Yeah.
So once you movable, add some more red D reacts, add some other things. Like add different tools. Like everyone's just forgetting that Tyler Horsepool, I think I pronounced his name right, won the first Las Vegas Callings in Chain Meta with Prism, who is geared towards aggro chain, just fatiguing out. It is possible, right? I think she's flexible enough that you don't really need to hit her, and she's not really in an unfair state.
I agree.
Starro, I've seen some stuff floating around, ban Crown of Seeds. I don't think they're going to ban a legendary. I wouldn't be super surprised if I saw it. I just don't think that's what you want to be doing, banning
Yeah.
legendary cards, especially when people have like put in a ton of money into like
Yeah.
buying some of these specific cards.
And I don't personally think Crown of Seeds is the issue.
It's
It
very, very
enables
good for
it
Starvo.
enables the ability to hopefully get the last piece of your puzzle, right?
That consistency is what makes Starvo so good. Like that increased chance that you'll actually grab
Yeah.
the last element or grab another blocking card or
Yeah, but then
grab whatever.
you're hurting
Very
old
good.
him now. I don't know.
I'm also okay with that.
You're okay with that too. Yeah.
I've seen that. I've seen Oakenhold, which I also like, making Oakenhold a
Yeah.
specialization, and having just Oldhim come back into the meta, because Oldhim is just being kicked in the nuts when Starvo came out. What is the point of playing Oldhim if Starvo is a thing?
Yeah.
Starvo is better Oldhim.
Yeah, access to more cards and pretty much same card pool except for the
and more explosive ability, so you don't just have to rely on fatiguing everybody all the time.
Yeah.
So your games won't go to time as often, which is really great. Oakenhold, what else have I seen? Irradiating his ability is the other thing I've seen.
Yeah.
So like either taking away Go Again, taking away Dominate, but like the whole idea of that ability is combine Lightning, which is Go Again, Earth, which is +2, and Ice, with his Dominate. So that's the whole flavor of the ability.
The flavor's great. Yeah. Yes, I'll give it that. I don't like errataing that much. I just feel like they did it with Briar now once, and it feels like if they keep going to the errata strategy, it's kind of, I don't know, kind of feels kind of lazy a little bit, maybe, if that's
all those cold foil, all those double-sided cold foils are just obsolete.
Oh, it's true. Yeah, have you seen complete side note, the price of Starvo has gone quite low now. Shouldn't have bought mine earlier. But anyway,
everyone is thinking he's gonna get banned, and I don't. Yeah, that's kind of the last
super tangent
piece of the puzzle. You just like tell Starvo to go away, essentially, right?
So, yeah, I think Living Legend is his path to being quote unquote banned, right? And I think they're not going to accelerate that. They might just just rely on him being just at the top, banning himself, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. They're not going to take action against that. I think they might errata something, like you mentioned, or just like limit something. But it's
no, I definitely think those are the more likely ones. What I would say probably is on my like highest priority list is the Oakenhold. Take out the Oakenhold. He's just it's just so good. It costs 3. Double fusing is fine because you already need both elements to activate Bravo.
The anyways. Is like, there, right? Yeah.
You have Crown of Seeds to go fetch other stuff. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of letting that card exist.
It's because every element does something special, right? Something specific. You're giving him the ability to kind of go in that pool and pick and choose what he wants. Like just going shopping. You're not a shopping spree for cards that just like work really well together. And the fact is that every hero that has the ability to reach into pools that are that vast can do well no matter what. I feel like if you give the opportunities to some heroes to get crazy combos going, they'll find a way, right? So I think just the nature of him being able to play so many cards, just makes him a broken hero.
Yep. I think the last thing that I used to say before the actual calling in Indianapolis was to ban or restrict Awakening, but then Michael Hamilton ended up winning without any Awakenings. But Awakening was a massive crutch, I think, because it supported bad play. Essentially, it supported the fact that you could just turn off your brain, take everything, Awakening, and then turn the game on its head. And I think it's rewarded. It's like it's the most like I played Bravo for a while, right? It is the most anti-synergistic Guardian card I've ever seen, and it makes very little sense with the actual theme of the deck, of any Guardian deck for that matter, but it just comes in and then pulverizes there, and then Crippling Crush is there. Like Oldhim can't look for Crippling Crush. It's very kind of like I would have said that, but then obviously the list came out. He won without it, and his reasoning was it doesn't make any sense, and I totally agree. So there was that, but now I'm like, well, you wouldn't really do anything, honestly. Yeah. So that's kind of my opinion on that. I don't want to bore everyone to death about BNR though, but
there's a lot of
my idea there.
A lot of what ifs, a lot of potential hits. So it doesn't make too much sense to spec too much about it. Like, I mean, if you're looking to like buy and sell cards based off of what could happen to them, like I wouldn't. Just wait for the announcement, wait to see if he gets Living Legend, and then work from there. Yeah.
Yep. With that, I think we're gonna save kind of our thoughts. Probably bring in a guest about talking about our predictions as far as the Pro Tour. That video will actually come out like the day after BNR, so we might add some spicy stuff day
Yeah.
of. But as far as like predictions, maybe some alternate heroes, people who used to play Starro, if Starro is hit a lot, kind of what we think the meta might be. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be another the Spark to Your Genius episode. And with that, we've talked kind of about everything we wanted to talk about
Yeah.
here.
We've
So
covered everything.
with that, appreciate everyone for watching. This will be on Spotify. If you did like the comment, if there's something if you did like the content, comment below. Is there something we missed? Is there something you'd like to see us talk about? We take suggestions, by the way. If you tweet us, if you comment, we will talk about something if you want it to be. If there's merit talking about it, and we do have opinions, and we're not just rambling on as we usually do.
Yep.
Just let us know, honestly. If there's any other segments you'd like us to produce, we've already made a couple videos off subscriber suggestions. And so we definitely do read every single comment and take everything into account. And with that, appreciate everyone for watching. Wherever you're watching in the world, have a good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Bye for now.